Hi everyone, my name is Jessica and I'm the creator of Once Upon a Pesto. Today we're going to be talking about Indian food and recipes. And joining us shortly is Sneha. She is over in India and knows all about this cuisine, and she is going to share so much information. I hope you're excited. We're going to find out what is really authentic Indian food like, what are some recipes, some ingredients. She is a culinary enthusiast, and I encourage you to comment, ask questions, and tag her. Her handle is gorge.gorgeous on Instagram, and you can ask her any questions. She'd be happy to answer. And I encourage you also to check out her Instagram page. It has lots of delicious food on there, especially Indian recipes. On her Instagram guides, she has some savory options, some sweet options, and then also some reels and IGTV videos. So she is going to join us shortly, and can't wait to get this conversation started. So just a moment. Welcome to everyone who is joining in. I encourage you to ask some questions, include your comments here in the video, and also encourage others, if they can't watch now, to watch later. I'll be uploading it to IGTV once the video is complete. And again, there you can ask questions and comment and tag Sneha, and she is going to be joining us very shortly. Again, welcome to everyone joining. Excited to have you here today to talk about Indian food and recipes with none other than Sneha. And she is going to be hopping on here shortly to tell more about what is Indian food like, what is the culture, how do certain ingredients affect and influence the recipes that are traditional to that country. And she has such great content on her Instagram. I encourage you to check it out, ask her some questions, and comment on this video, and we will be starting here shortly. All right, I can see Sneha is on here. I just sent the request, so she is joining, and there she is. Hello. How are you today?
How are you? I'm
Good.
great. So good to see you.
You too. And I was just giving everyone an introduction about you and what you do, your lovely recipes on Instagram, and about our conversation today, Indian food and recipes. So let's dive right in and kind of tell us a little bit about yourself, Sneha. Where are you, and what is what's your heritage?
So first of all, thank you so much for having me for this lovely Q&A. My name is Sneha. I was born and raised in New Delhi, India. I have a degree in law and I'm working as a lawyer. But most importantly, I'm all about food. I love every aspect to it, be it reading or writing, exploring new cuisines and restaurants, and most importantly, cooking. And coming from a family of wonderful cooks, my mom is an amazing cook. My nani. So, like Italian nonnas you have in India's grandmas are known as nani and dadi. So, my nani was an amazing cook. And
Mhm.
she would have been so proud of me today to see me prepare the Indian dishes and special desserts that I prepare. So, yes, I can't really trace the origin how this started, but I remember baking brownies as a kid. I would madly take up interest in food shows. I remember but then in 2020, just like everybody, I think that is what the turning point happened when I actually developed this eternal relationship with kitchen.
Mhm.
And I did a lot of Indian cooking and I understood Indian cooking on whole new, deeper levels. The past year, I cooked a lot of Indian food. So, yeah, that's about me.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that, Sneha. And it's just so neat, for those who are watching, I'm in the United States on the East Coast, and Sneha is in India. So that is a time difference of about 9.5 hours. So cool that we can connect here, share more information about what Indian food is like. So if you had to describe Indian food, what is unique? What sets it apart from other cuisines around the world?
I think first of all, broadly speaking, Indian food is a very rustic and a very hearty style of food. And needless to say, the varieties of spices and flavors that goes in, they just shine through the food. So I think it's a very celebratory style of food that celebrates seasons, seasonalities,
Mm.
spirituality, and the bounties of nature. So yes, and the one peculiar feature about Indian food is that as you travel every 50 to 100 kilometers, the food will completely change.
Wow.
Like you'll experience completely new culinary customs popping in. So that is something really beautiful about the nation. And the nation truly represents the phrase unity in diversity because there is so much diversity. I mean, in terms of everything, the way people dress up, the languages spoken by the people, the mixture of cultures and religions and different climates, landscapes, and of course, food. So, yes, and if one needs to understand broadly about Indian food, so they need to look up into Indian agriculture,
Mm.
Indian seasons, religious practices play a very important role, and of course, the Indian geography. As India is divided into broad regions northern, southern, eastern, western, central, northeastern, southwestern. So, there's completely different things, contrasting things, flavors happening across the region. So, it's just so diverse.
Yeah, that's so neat. And what part geographically of the country are you in?
I'm in northern India.
Okay.
Delhi is a flatland, plain area in the northern India.
Okay.
So yeah,
And
and
what?
Delhi food, if you say, is more of a melting pot of different ethnicities. So I think if you're short on time and if you visit Delhi, so you'll get quite a lot, complete culinary tour of the different dishes from the region. So Delhi doesn't have a cuisine of its own, but yes, it's a melting pot of different cuisines.
What would you say the biggest influence are from outside India into India in terms of food? What other countries have a
Yeah.
big impact?
Yes, so a lot of invasions happened into India. Indian food can be said as an amalgamation of different traditions, cultures, and beliefs. I would say so. During ancient times, first of all, Central Asian invaders happened to come from Persia and Turkey. So that shaped up the Mughlai Indian food that we have.
Mm.
So they developed various recipes. They brought numerous techniques with them, the tandoor technique, the skewering techniques, the braising and dum techniques. So all of these are imbibed from the Mughal region, Mughal Empire. And there's this cute story that goes about biryani that the Mughal emperor Shah Jahan, his wife, she found that the soldiers were looking undernourished. The Mughal army looked undernourished to her. So she ordered the head chefs to just use their local mutton and meats along with Indian rice and to make a wholesome meal with carbs and meat. So the head chefs then they use the Indian spices available, and that's how biryani evolved. And it became a part of the war diet of the Mughals.
Wow.
So biryani has stayed since then. So yes, then there were Greek invaders coming, Mongolians coming, Portuguese happened to come. The Goan food is has a lot of Portuguese influences to it. The shakuti Goan curries, also Vindaloo curries. A Goan pudding known as bibinka is a Portuguese pudding that was developed by Portuguese nuns within India. There are French influences in certain parts of Pondicherry, so it's an amalgamation of different traditions.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's fascinating. Countries of influence that I never would have thought of in India.
definitely. It's a beautiful country full of colors and unique aspects to it.
Yeah, and it's a pretty large country too. So as you were
Very
saying,
yeah,
you travel
yes.
even short distances, relatively speaking, you're going to experience changes in the different flavors and ingredients.
No,
What would you say are unified common ingredients in all of Indian food? Like if there are like a few items that every region of India uh, typically uses, what would those be?
I think first of all, the ingredients differ a lot. So I think picking specific ingredients can be really difficult, but broadly, if I categorize it region wise, so within northern regions, you'll find that the temperatures are really temperate. There's a very fertile soil. So the northern India is said to be the food bowl of India. So there's lots of wheat, lots of maize, millet production happening. I think we're the world's second largest producers of millets, so
Wow.
a lot of millet productions in the western regions, which are the desert regions. A lot of usage of dairy in the northern Indian food. Dairy products, ghee, milk, yogurt are widely used. Southern India, if you see, the staple food is rice. So they are rice eaters, and rice will form a basic part of most preparations. There's massive amount of coconut production in the south, so coconut features in almost all of the dishes. Whereas in northeastern India, you'll find the peculiar regional herbs and a lot of use of bamboo shoots in northeast India. In southwest, in the Konkan, Maharashtrian regions, it's the coastal area, so a lot of seafood happening there.
Mm.
And then there's Bengali cuisine, which is a very popular cuisine. Also, central India has flavor, very punchy flavors, lots of use of spices, all of flavor combinations, sweet, spicy, sour, all going together at once. So I think yes, broadly wheat and rice are widely used. If I can still categorize ingredients. So it's wheat and rice, definitely.
Okay, great. That was such a neat summary, kind of taking us around the different parts of the country. And so, Sneha, I want to go to your part in northern India. What are dishes, Indian dishes that, are popular outside of the country as well? A lot of people often associate curry with Indian food. Is that true, or what kind of dishes are the, pivotal dishes in that region?
So I think, first of all, since there's so much diversity brimming in India, so there are so many cuisines, like dozens and tons of cuisines, I would say, that are largely unheard of.
Mm.
People do not know about them. The broad notion that has evolved overseas about Indian food is that Indian food is all about tikka masalas and naans and dal makhani and makhani gravies, all of that. But logically, this is just 1% of what the nation has to offer. I mean,
Wow.
it's literally 1%. So I think a few people who know a little more about Indian food would know about idlis and dosas. But there's so much to India. Like even we, as Indians, when we visit different states, we get to experience so much about Indian food. So that is the beauty of the nation. And talking about the tikka masalas and makhani gravies, I think this is more of the restaurant style food that doesn't take place within home cooking. So this is not something we cook in our homes. This is something we'll go and dine out, or it's a more restaurant style of food. And also, this is not the traditional food, if I should say this. This is more of the food that evolved through the invasions and got popularized through ancient eateries, old eateries, and popular restaurateurs. So it's not something that was traditionally within India.
Huh.
So this is something I think which should change. And the concept of curry, I think the word curry is being abused, if that's
Uh-huh.
the right word to say, because curry is not something which is a term on its own. Now, it's a very vague term because curry is just a category of dish. It can
Okay.
include anything and everything within it. So, it can be a gravy dish or a dry vegetable or a meat dish made with different kinds of flavorings depending upon the region it is from. So, it is as vague as saying, say, for example, stew. Now, stew is a category of a dish. A stew can be an Asian stew or a Moroccan stew. So
Hmm.
it's like you're saying stew powder or stew flavored. So it's as big as that for us as Indians. So I think this needs more awakening and understanding over this and the regionality of Indian cuisines. So yes.
Definitely. I love that you're bringing this attention to this, and I'm sure you do it on your Instagram page and in the recipes that
Yes,
you do.
I do try to post different kinds of recipes, and what I actually discover, people really get to know about these dishes and they've not heard about them. So yeah, it
Mhm.
feels really great.
Yeah. What would you say is your favorite Indian dish? If you had to just choose one, and what's involved in it? How do you cook it? What are the ingredients?
This is a very difficult choice. I don't think I can choose this because there's literally so much. But I think coming from a North Indian region, so I obviously have a soft spot for the North Indian dishes. And if I have to talk about the restaurant style food, then I do love vegetarian Indian starters. I'm a vegetarian. So
Okay.
I love paneer tikkas and dahi kebabs. For home style food, like what I've been grown up eating, I love dal chawal. I recently posted about dal chawal. I love khichdi, rajma chawal, dosas. I think I can go on and on because there's no end to it. But I love Indian desserts. I think I really love Indian desserts. So that is something I really enjoy.
Awesome. What is your like if you had to choose a dessert that you were gonna serve someone who's never had Indian food before, what would that be? You know, something that
One,
encompasses the culture and that you think is important.
one dessert.
One dessert.
Uh, again, I cannot choose that because, see, Indian desserts can be categorized into in three categories. So we have these bite-sized sweets known as mithais. So they're used more of for distribution purposes like pedas and burfis. I also posted about burfis recently, and then there are these festive kind of fried desserts like jalebis and gujiyas and malpuas. So they are dunked into sugar syrup, a thick sugar syrup known as chashni. So they are heavily calorie loaded but loved by the country. And but then broadly, if I would say, most Indian desserts involve playing around milk products. Like there'll be mostly milk products like evaporated milk or which is known as khoya or mawa, condensed milk, chena, which is a form of paneer, yogurt, whole milk. So it's mostly milk. But I think again it differs upon the region people are visiting. So it can be rabris, shrikhand, kheer, payasam. So there's so much.
It sounds like an easy question, but I'm sure it's difficult, you know, just to
It is
choose
difficult
one.
because they are loaded with such exotic and rich textures and the flavorings from cardamom, saffron, a lot of use of nuts like almonds.
That's I love just the variety, you know, not only in the main dishes and regions, but also here in the desserts. I'm gonna actually go back in time, Sneha, and when you were a child,
Okay.
what was that dining family dinner experience like?
So family dinners would again be, since my mom is from Uttar Pradesh and Lucknow, so there would be a lot of mom made food. There are a lot of Lucknowi influences on a food. So yes, like I just said, khichdi and dal chawal is something I love. Family dinners would be a lot of Indian chaat like dahi ballas, balla papris, aloo tikkis, very rustic Indian style food. So again, being in North India, so it will be all preying around Indian dishes like koftas, naans, all of this. So yes.
And was it, kind of dinner was the biggest meal of the day, or was lunch? You know, kind of take us through the day of breakfast to dinner and how that looks.
Okay, so in order to touch upon this topic, I'll have to tell you about the love for food that Indians have. So Indians are big time food. Like they love their food, they live to eat. So food and family are the biggest obsessions that the nation has. So there are large families. We have extended families, joint families living together with the traditional recipes being passed on from generation to generation after generation. And people love food to the extent that they will prefer to eat well rather than going on a diet. So they'll prefer food over a diet any day. They love their chai. People, chai, the love for chai in India, they'll sip it multiple times in a day, or filter coffee in South. As hot as 45 degrees Celsius, they will sip tea multiple times a day. So chai is a big obsession in the country, and pakoras and samosas, all of these fried
Mm.
food. Come rains and it'll be pakoras happening in, I think, almost every Indian home. So that's how it goes. People love food over here, literally.
Yeah, wow. And knowing the importance of family and food in the culture, Sneha, what was it like for you as you were growing up? How did you eventually get into the kitchen and start cooking yourself? Was that early on? Where, how old were you?
So, like I said, I wasn't really cooking in my growing years. It was in my high school and university days that I happened to take up cooking actively in the kitchen. But even then, I was cooking mostly global recipes and a lot of Italian and specifically pasta, a lot of pasta. So, like just I said that Indian food is something I always enjoyed eating, but I wasn't cooking it a lot. It was during the past 1 or 2 years that I cooked a lot of Indian food, and I developed a very deeper level of understanding about Indian food from the cooking point of view. So,
Mm.
like a never before understanding, I would say. So, it was wonderful understanding Indian food that way, cooking it
Yeah.
thoroughly in the kitchen.
Yeah, it's so neat that I'm sure you're still, even today or tomorrow, discovering new things about Indian food.
Oh,
And
yes.
how
Yes,
often do you
absolutely
get to
love it.
travel in different parts of the country?
Traveling in the past year has been very restricted, so I couldn't get to travel a lot. But yes, I think I love to travel in India. I love Rajasthan. I absolutely love Rajasthani food. They have these beautiful earthen dishes known as dal bati churma, which is a very, very hearty dish from the region. A
Mm.
lot of millets, like I said, are used in the region. Bajra ki roti, gatte ki sabzi. Gujarat food is it's a very beautiful state, very cultural state. A lot of sweeter notes in Gujarati food. And then I happened to visit Indore recently, and I was amazed at the kind of street food they have. Like, it was a discovery for myself. Such beautiful regional delicacies in the region. So it was lovely visiting Indore and Banaras. Banaras is, I think, all about street food. Such amazing delicacies happening there. Tomato ki chaat is a very popular chaat, and it's also a very lesser known chaat. People do not know a lot about tomato ki chaat.
Hmm. And you mentioned about street food, which makes me think about, that market or shopping experience. Do many towns have their own kind of outdoor market, or what is that when you go to get food? What is that experience like?
So Indian eateries can be classified in different forms. There'll be small eateries like dhabas. I think I'll talk about dhabas because we need to talk about dhabas if we're talking about Indian food. So dhabas are basically highway eateries or roadside kind of eateries. So they do this very rustic kind of food with rough chops of vegetables or meat. No sophistication, just pure flavors and liberal use of butter and oil cooked in bulk quantities round the day. So I think anybody who asks in India, they'll unanimously agree that dhaba food is all about flavors. So as
Mm.
you head towards Punjab and Haryana, you'll find a lot of dhabas over there. And if you head towards pilgrimages, you find a lot of Vaishnav dhabas which have this pure vegetarian food. So vegetarianism has actually evolved as a default diet in India. So
Wow.
a large percentage of eaters in India are vegetarians. So this is
Okay.
something very unique about India, and most dishes are considered complete without in the absence of meat or these sorts of protein.
Huh.
So this is something really unique. And then you have this thali concept. I think thali concept is very unique to India. That you have thali is basically the name for the platter on which the dish is served. So you won't have different courses like the first course, second course. It'll be all of the courses going on together at once on your plate. Different condiments, achars, pickles, pappers, um, all kinds of breads. side dishes, raita, sweets, everything going on your plate at once. This is a
Wow.
very unique thing which the nation has to offer, and the thali will differ depending upon the region it is from. In South India, you'll have these classic thalis which are served on a banana leaf. It'll
Hmm.
have beautiful preparations. During their cultural festivities they have, during Onam, Pongal, they have beautiful feasts on banana leaves. So it's a very beautiful culture. And festivities definitely shape up India.
Mm.
I'll say in the sense, there'll be festivals you'll associate certain dishes with. So if it's Holi, which is the festival of colors, so you'll naturally associate sweets like gujia, thandai with Holi. If it's Janmashtami, you'll have milk-based preparations being naturally associated to Janmashtami. During Guru Purab, you'll have Kada Prasad, which is synonymous with Guru Purab. And Eid will have Sheer Kurma and Sevia. It's a dessert. Diwali is the biggest festival for Indians, which is full of plethora of sweets. And we have Navratras going on right now,
Oh,
which is a 9-day festival where Hindus worship goddess Durga, and people fast during these days. So it's a carnival-like atmosphere in regions of Bengal and Gujarat. Complete musical events followed by food feasts, special fasting meals comprising of buckwheat and sago-based preparations. So festivals definitely shape up India. And weddings, I would say, Indian weddings are a thing on its own. I mean, they are a celebration of food. If you ask anybody in India, so there's a very peculiar charm associated with Indian weddings. These are large gatherings and ceremonies spread across many days, and it's a food feast. You'll find desserts ranging from 50 to 100 types of desserts in lavish weddings.
wow.
So if you're in a crunch of time and you get to attend a lavish Indian wedding, you'll get a very good gist about the country's food, I would say. So Indian weddings are an amazing thing.
Yeah, and with the weddings, that makes me think, if you've ever kind of seen movies or pictures in American weddings, the big white cake, is
Yeah.
there like a central dessert in an Indian wedding, or is it, like you said, all those numerous different types?
I think from the region I come from, in North India, we do not have any specific dish associated. But I think in local customs in certain regions of Uttar Pradesh and Bihar, in South India, there might be some prevailing. Like I said, it's so much for us to learn as well about the cultures. But broadly, I don't think there's a specific sweet that one would associate to a wedding.
Okay.
It's just celebration of food. It's
Yeah.
just all about food, Indian weddings.
And Sneha, if you had to, if you had to summarize what you wish, and we talked about a couple things, with curry, with naan and the shawarma and all those things. If you had to say to the rest of the world kind of what the true Indian culture of food is like in just one or two sentences, how would you summarize it?
The complex simplicity. It's a very complex, simple cuisine, complex yet simple. So much going to it that one must really travel India in order to experience the beauty of the food the nation has to offer.
Yeah.
There's just so much. You find me overusing this term now. There's so much to it. And a lot of Indian practices are now being globally acknowledged, like the
Mm.
use of ghee, which has always been a vital part of Indian diet, and turmeric lattes, which are now becoming a global sensation, have always been in India. Indian practices of Ayurveda, yoga, all of these are being loved across the nation. So yes, I think there's a world beyond tikka masalas which people definitely need to explore.
Yeah.
Uh, the nation has so much to offer.
Wow. And I love that your approach to this is, one step at a time, that, you're seeing these changes and people are starting to recognize
Yeah,
the little hidden gems in Indian food. And I think it's just a matter
definitely.
of time, right? The more those dishes spread throughout the world, I think the more it'll kind of piece together what Indian food is really like for other people.
Yes, no wonders. I mean, people are actually getting to know a lot about it. Instagram plays a very important role. I get to talk to people who actually know a lot about Indian food, so it feels wonderful. So that is something really amazing that I feel when people know a lot about Indian food.
Yeah, it brings such great conversations too, with it. And
Definitely.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And this conversation, Sneha, has been wonderful. It's so neat to know that
Yes,
you're
Jessica.
in India and I'm here, and everyone watching online has just learned so much about your food,
True.
your culture. And I want to give you this opportunity to share with us, where can we find, how can we follow you, stay in touch with the recipes that you produce?
Okay, so as of now, you can only find me on my page, God's Gorgeous. So that's it right now. But I have Indian food guides that I have made. So you find a lot of recipes from different regions. If you're seeking Indian food inspiration, you can check the guides. I have an Indian highlights section, which is a very musical and colorful guide, just like India is. So you can get a lot of info from that. And otherwise, if you ever want to know about anything about Indian food, I would just love to talk about it. You can always DM me and I'll be glad to assist.
Awesome. And for those watching, again, Sneha's Instagram handle is gorge.gorgeous. Encourage you to comment, question, send her a DM if you want to learn more about Indian food. That conversation probably has no end to it, right? There's so much to learn, so much to
No
talk
wonder.
about.
Yes.
Great. Sneha, thank you so much for your time today. It's been wonderful talking with
Thank you so
you.
much, Jessica.
I hope
And
you
kudos to
enjoyed.
you because you're doing a wonderful work with Pesto. You're taking Pesto to whole new levels. So it's always so exciting to see you come up with a new country and a new Pesto. So
Thank you.
yeah, keep up the good work.
Thank you so much.
You're most welcome.
Have a good rest of your evening, and it's been a pleasure talking with you today.
Thank you so much, Jessica. Thank you once again for having me. It was wonderful talking with you. Have a great day and a lovely weekend.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye. Bye.